Without further ado, here it is, my used, new to me, M3. And of course, what you can see, pretty straightforward. What's first is the Smallrig cage. Very similar to what I actually have on the camera that I'm filming with right now. Make sure I'm pointing right at it, the G35. This small cage is a little tad different, meaning that the way that it actually went on was very similar. It came in just one piece, one solid piece. This right here is actually an accessory that can come off. This did not come with the rig. It's something I already had, but I can actually use it to attach additional components if I want. But the Smallrig only actually has one bolt, and same sort of setup where you can just use a quarter to tighten it, which is right here. And then other than that, you know, you put the camera in there, screw it in, and you're good to go. The one thing that didn't come on the Smallrig that I really wish that it did, but after I re-tightened it the first time using it, I didn't really have much of an issue. And that one thing that I'm actually talking about was the anti-wobble screw. So there was another screw that attached right in here, and it actually went to where you mount either your lanyards or your neck bands, and it keeps the camera from moving around, so it's not just relying on this one screw. Well, this one didn't come with it, and I don't know if it's because the body of the camera is so much smaller they decided not to include it. When I was out shooting, I only had like one issue, and I think it was because I didn't tighten it enough to begin with. I pretty much just grabbed something, it wasn't even a quarter, but something the same sort of size, and I tightened it and it worked out fine. Let me see. So digging into the product, it's just as sturdy as my other Smallrig. I would say there is absolutely no problems with the build quality, and that's one of the reasons why I am continuing to stick with this particular product. Because it is a smaller rig, what I don't get is a lot of the threaded places that normally are like right along here and a few other places. They don't have as much material to do the same sort of threading, so you just don't get anything. The downside of that is when you start adding things like handles, etc., you only have a couple of options as to where you're going to attach them. So if you're going to do it on the left side, if you're behind the camera, then your option is going to be here. Now this doesn't work because these are spaced too far apart, but there are other handles that would. But needless to say, it would be more difficult to attach something this way if for some reason you couldn't reorient it, the handle to actually be perpendicular with the body. So what I found though is I can actually use one of my other NATO cheese handles, and I can actually just attach it right here, and then that way when I'm using the camera I still have something to hold on to when I'm shooting video to keep it stable. So pretty straightforward, goes like that, and there you have it. So that's just one item. Of course, another item that I've been attaching here lately is my Rode mic. This actually I would have to slide this handle up just a little bit to kind of show you how this works, and once I do that, it gives me space to place my mic here, and you notice it makes contact, so it's a really tight fit, but it works. The good thing is the mic jack is actually over on this side, so pop that, plugs right in, and then when I'm going to shoot, once again I can hold it just like that and it's fairly stable. The other addition that I've made to this camera was, in addition to the 22mm f2 pancake lens that actually came with the camera when I got it off of eBay, I decided to add the kit lens. The kit lens that I decided to get was not the 15mm to 55mm or excuse me, the 18mm to 55mm that actually comes with the camera a lot of times, as well as other M series. There's also this kit lens, and this one is the 15 to 45mm lens. One of the reasons why I added it is because the pancake lens that I have does not have stability built into it, and neither does the body. So generally, if I'm out and about and I'm shooting, if I'm not on a tripod and I'm trying to hand hold, I've got a technique where I use a neck strap, but then also holding this, got to stay extremely still. So this right here just gives me a little extra stabilization if possible. It's a pretty neat little lens. I've actually been using it past couple of days, and I think it actually does pretty well, and it's fairly versatile. In addition to that, you can zoom if you want, but I wanted to show you something. So in order to use it right now, it's currently stowed, and what ends up happening is if for some reason I decided I wanted to start shooting with it, turn the camera on, and you see the message, set the lens to the shooting position. So even though it looks like it technically would be able to shoot right now, it actually doesn't. So there's a release here, and what ends up happening is once you, let me turn this to the camera, you can see there's a down arrow, about right. So it's about right here. And what you want to do, you're going to flick that down. I'll turn it to the side so you can see it come out. And then once you flick it down, you can turn it. So right now, that's at 15mm. And then you'll notice it actually starts to go back in, and then it goes back out as it's zooming out. I found that kind of funny, to be honest with you, because I just assumed it would go either in or out. But needless to say, I digress. Like I said, pretty good lens. I don't necessarily use zoom that much because it's not really my cup of tea, especially if I was going to get something that I'm going to focus on doing stills or zoom in. I would probably get a different telephoto lens, not necessarily use the kit lens. But yeah, I've been pretty happy with it. Doesn't really take up a whole heck of a lot of space. You know, you compare this lens to the pancake lens, and I mean, really, they're fairly close in size. I'm going to see if I can grab the pancake lens really quick. Actually have it on the other side here to kind of show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so here's the pancake lens. Now keep in mind this is still stowed, so in all actuality when you go to shoot with it, it's a little bit larger. But there's the pancake lens by comparison, and you can see, move my hand out of the way, they're pretty close. And by the way, the pancake lens has a cap on it, so if I took the cap off, let's do that. There we go. So hopefully gives you some idea as to the size of the lens. I don't have this really all the way back to the base, so let's see if I can get a better vantage point. Maybe if you're looking at it, need an extra hand here, so about like right there. Hopefully you can tell. So the pancake lens in all actuality is still a little bit smaller, but not by much. And keep in mind the pancake lens also has a cover for the back too, so it's actually adding to how thick it actually is. So so far so good though. I'm really happy with this lens. I actually got the cage and I got the lens, both of them off of eBay. Pretty good deal, I would say. What I've started doing on eBay for the most part is instead of doing auctions or buy it now, I just make offers and then just let it ride. And then if they counter offer, cool. If they accept it, great. If they don't, then I just come back and make another offer when my offer expires. Probably going to do a video about that because I've come up with some pretty neat ways to get some pretty awesome deals. The only other thing that I've added to this point was bought a hood for it, just because I like hoods. I shoot outside a lot. We're in Colorado. Sun's bright, so yeah, and that kind of completes the package. But I would say for the most part this is a pretty good setup for video, and I'm still practicing trying to get better with it on shooting stills, but it's capable. And to be quite honest with you, for the amount of money that I've put into it so far, I don't actually see that. I don't think I'm going to be adding anything else to it. I think this is more than sufficient for the B-roll that I plan on using it for, and I could also use it or keep it in my vehicle or keep it with me at all times if I go to work and an opportunity arises to shoot some photos, well, I have it. The other thing I would probably do if I'm just carrying it around and I'm not looking at doing video, I would just take off the small cage, because it just adds to the size, and I really don't need that if I'm just, like I said, running and gunning, shooting, those types of things. Want to keep the package as small as possible. But when it's on a tripod, or if I'm actually just doing video, then of course I'll throw the cage back on there. I'm kicking around the idea of getting a handle like this. This is a cam bait that I actually use on my other rig. Really love this thing, but if you can see from my setup here, the problem I would run into is the cam bait would bump into the mic. So I would have to figure out another way of mounting this. I could, of course, go to the top, but there's a reason why I actually bought the cage. Is because whenever you flip the screen up, if you were to say maybe in selfie mode or you're filming, like for instance right now the camera that I'm filming on, I've got the screen facing towards me so I can see what the framing actually looks like, as well as the focus, since I do manual focusing. So I really have to have this, and if I put this up there, it blocks it. Once again, this part here comes off. So I'm gonna have to look at other options if I do decide to roll with that handle. But once again, it's not really a big concern, because frankly I think this setup is as good as it gets. So I don't see getting the cam bait anytime soon. That's about it. I actually got another hood that's coming. Once again, another phenomenal deal from eBay. And actually the way that I'm getting this hood, or the other hood, is through a drop ship method, where the piece that I'm ordering is so cheap. Matter of fact, it's way more expensive for the shipping. So it takes so much longer for it to get here because they ship it by the cheapest possible method. It's actually pretty hilarious. So if you're willing to wait, that's a great way to actually buy a, you know, any kind of thing, at least off of eBay. So other than that, that's it. If you guys have any questions, or you know, anything that you want to know about the camera, the setup, you know, it doesn't matter. It could be about the Smallrig, it could be about the lens, the M3, it could be about even the micro, right? The Rode Micro, which is still awesome. Just ask, you know, put them down below and I'll answer them. I'm also going to give a shout out to Manfrotto, just because I love Manfrotto, and this is quite possibly one of my favorite items I've ever bought for cameras. It's one of the first things I actually bought, and I use it quite a bit. You've probably seen it in some of my other videos, but I just love their products. I've got a larger tripod that's phenomenal too. So, but yeah, if you got questions about any of this setup, or even the G85 that I'm filming on, my lighting, once again, put it down in the comments and I'll get to you as soon as I can. Other than that, I think that's it. Signing out.